Love is a gift some people only learn to value when it's too late. Ethan Crawford had everything a man could dream of: youth, brilliance, and the ambition that turned him into a self-made millionaire before the age of 30. But with his fortune came arrogance, and with arrogance came loss. Years ago, when the woman who loved him unconditionally offered him a simple life together, he turned away. He called love a distraction. He called her a mistake. He walked away from the one heart that beat only for him. Now, sitting in his penthouse overlooking a city glittering with wealth, Ethan realizes that the silence echoing through his walls is not success, it's punishment. And when fate leads him back to the woman he abandoned, and to the daughter he never knew, Ethan learns the truth. Money can buy many things, but never forgiveness, and never lost time. Ethan Crawford's rise to wealth was nothing short of extraordinary. Born into a modest home in Chicago, he grew up watching his parents struggle to make ends meet. His father worked double shifts at a factory. His mother stitched clothes late into the night. And yet the family was always one step away from eviction notices and unpaid bills. Ethan swore early in life that he would never live that way. He believed money was the only language the world respected, and he devoted himself to mastering it. By the time he was 28, Ethan had built a tech company that skyrocketed in value. Investors called him a genius. Magazines labeled him a prodigy. And the media hailed him as the new face of American success. He lived in luxury penthouses, drove sleek sports cars, and dined at restaurants where the bills cost more than his parents had made in a month. To outsiders, he was unstoppable. To Ethan, he was just beginning. But behind the flashing lights of interviews and corporate deals, there was one chapter of Ethan's life he had buried. Her name was Emma Hayes. Emma was not wealthy, not ambitious in the way Ethan was. She worked at a small art gallery in the city and carried herself with the kind of grace that couldn't be bought. She loved simple things: coffee on rainy mornings, second-hand books with creased pages, and the way the city skyline looked at sunset. Ethan had met her years earlier, when he was still a hungry young man with dreams larger than his wallet. She had believed in him before anyone else did. She encouraged him when his business ideas failed, comforted him when deals collapsed, and stood by him when no one else cared. But as Ethan's company grew, so did his ego. To him, love became an inconvenience, something that slowed him down, something messy and unpredictable. Emma wanted stability, a home, a future together. Ethan wanted expansion, power, and to prove to the world he could outrun his childhood poverty. Their arguments became frequent. She would ask for time. He would give excuses. She would speak of dreams. He would calculate profits. The breaking point came on a night Emma would never forget. She had come to Ethan, trembling but hopeful, to tell him she was pregnant. She believed it would bring them closer, that the life they had created could be the anchor he needed. But Ethan's face had turned to stone. "A child," he had said coldly. "Emma, I don't have time for this. I'm building something here, something bigger than all of this." Tears had filled her eyes. "Bigger than us. Bigger than love. Bigger than your own child. You don't understand," he snapped. "Love, family, it's all a weakness. I can't afford weaknesses." And then he had delivered the words that haunted Emma for years. "This was a mistake. You were a mistake." That night, Emma left his apartment, her heart shattered, but her resolve unbroken. She would raise her child alone. Ethan never saw her again. Years passed. Ethan's company expanded globally. He graced magazine covers, his net worth climbing into the hundreds of millions. He owned mansions in New York and Los Angeles, traveled on private jets, and shook hands with politicians and celebrities. But when the cameras were off and the parties ended, he returned to empty rooms. There were no photographs on the walls, no laughter echoing down hallways, no one to call his own. Success had given him everything except peace. He drowned his loneliness in work, convincing himself that it was worth it. But sometimes, in the quiet hours past midnight, memories of Emma would surface: her laughter, her smile, the way she had believed in him before anyone else. He buried those thoughts under layers of ambition, but they always clawed their way back. Then, one winter evening, fate reminded Ethan of the life he had thrown away. It was a charity gala in downtown Chicago. Ethan attended reluctantly, his mind on pending mergers and contracts. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, the air buzzing with laughter and clinking glasses. He moved through the crowd with practiced charm, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries. And then he saw her. Emma. She stood near the corner of the room, talking to another guest. Time had changed her, but only slightly. She was still graceful, her auburn hair tied neatly, her eyes holding the same quiet strength he remembered. But beside her stood a girl no more than 10 years old, with hazel eyes that mirrored his own. Ethan froze. His heart pounded in his chest as realization struck. That girl was his daughter. For the first time in years, Ethan Crawford, the millionaire who thought he had conquered the world, felt powerless. Ethan's palms grew clammy as he gripped the champagne flute tighter. Watching Emma laugh softly at something her companion said, but his gaze kept drifting back to the girl beside her. The child had his eyes hazel with flecks of green eyes he saw every morning in the mirror. Her smile was bright, innocent, and heartbreakingly familiar. For a man who had negotiated billion-dollar contracts without blinking, Ethan suddenly couldn't breathe. Every carefully constructed wall inside him began to crumble. He wanted to walk over, to say her name, to apologize for everything, but his feet felt nailed to the marble floor. What right did he have to approach? He was a ghost from Emma's past, a scar she had carried for years. And that girl, she didn't even know he existed. Emma turned, and their eyes met. For a second, the crowded room, the music, the laughter, everything disappeared. It was just them. Emma's expression froze, her lips parting slightly in shock. Then her eyes hardened, like shutters slamming closed. Without a word, she turned back to the little girl and touched her shoulder gently. Lily, Ethan heard her say. The name echoed through him like a bell. His daughter's name, Lily, Emma, and Lily began walking toward the exit. Desperation surged through Ethan, and he moved, weaving through the crowd until he caught up. Emma, he said, his voice rougher than he expected. She stopped, slowly turning toward him. Her face was calm, but her eyes blazed with a fury that years of distance hadn't dimmed. Ethan, she said evenly, her voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. Don't. His chest tightened. Please, just a moment. Emma shook her head. No. You had your moment. You had every chance, and you chose yourself instead. Don't you dare try to walk back into our lives now. Lily tugged gently at her mother's hand. Mom, who is this man? Emma's jaw tightened. No one, sweetheart, just someone I used to know. The words sliced through Ethan. No one. He wanted to shout, to tell the truth that he was Lily's father, that he had made a terrible mistake, that he had spent years drowning in regret. But looking at Lily's wide, curious eyes, he couldn't. She deserved stability, not scandal. Emma guided Lily toward the exit, and Ethan stood rooted to the floor, helpless. For the rest of the night, he couldn't shake the image of them leaving Emma strong, Lily radiant, both carrying the life he had thrown away. The following days, Ethan couldn't concentrate on work. Board meetings blurred together, contracts went unread, and for the first time in his career, his assistant noticed his distraction. He spent hours staring out of his office window, replaying Emma's voice, Lily's smile, and the unbearable weight of Emma calling him no one. He hired a private investigator not to intrude, but to know. Within days, he had a report on Emma Hayes. She worked at the same gallery. Still modest in income, living in a small apartment on the city's north side. She had never married. Every paycheck went to raising Lily, who excelled in school and loved to draw. Ethan stared at the photographs of Lily drawing in a park. Her hair tied in a messy ponytail, her smile wide. Pride and pain warred inside him. She was perfect. She was his, and yet, he had no place in her life. But he couldn't stay away. The next Saturday, he drove past the park near Emma's apartment. His sleek black car looked out of place among the minivans and bicycles, but he didn't care. He saw Emma sitting on a bench, reading, while Lily played with other children. For a long time, he simply watched. When Lily tripped and fell, Ethan's heart lurched, but Emma was already there, helping her up, brushing dirt from her knees, kissing her forehead. Ethan's throat tightened. Emma had done it all, every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every sacrifice without him. He returned the next week, and the next. He never approached, never revealed himself, just watched from a distance, a silent shadow in the life he could have had. But fate had other plans. One afternoon, Lily broke away from her friends and ran toward the ice cream stand near where Ethan stood. She bumped into him, almost dropping her cone. Sorry, she said brightly, looking up at him. Ethan crouched, his heart pounding. It's okay, he said softly. Are you all right? Lily grinned, showing the gap where she had lost a front tooth. Yeah, I just didn't see you there. For a moment, Ethan let himself drink in her smile. So close, he could see every detail of her, the curve of her cheeks, the light in her eyes. She looked so much like Emma, yet so much like him. Thank you, she said politely. Before running back toward her mother, Emma's gaze followed her daughter, then landed on him. Her expression darkened. She walked briskly toward Ethan, fire in her step. What are you doing here? She demanded, her voice sharp but hushed. Ethan swallowed. I needed to see her. Just once. Please, Emma, I'm not here to hurt you or her. I know I don't deserve it, but you're right, Emma snapped. You don't deserve it. You don't get to waltz back in and claim fatherhood because you suddenly feel guilty. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but her voice remained steel. I carried her. I raised her. I sat awake with her when she was sick. I worked 2 jobs to feed her. I wiped her tears when she asked why she didn't have a dad. Where were you then, Ethan? He had no answer. His empire, his millions, his accolades, none of it mattered now. All he had was regret. I can't change the past, he said hoarsely, but please, give me a chance to be here now. For her, for you. Emma shook her head, her face trembling with fury and sorrow. You made your choice. We don't need your money. We don't need you. She turned, calling Lily to her side. Together, they walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone in the park, surrounded by children's laughter that felt like mockery. For the first time, Ethan realized that all the wealth he had built meant nothing. He was the richest man in the park, yet the poorest in the ways that mattered most, and for the first time, Ethan Crawford wept. Days turned into weeks, but Emma's words clung to Ethan like chains. We don't need you. They were true. Emma had proven stronger than he ever was. She had built a life from nothing, not with money, but with love and perseverance. And yet, he couldn't walk away again. He had walked away once before, and it had cost him everything. This time, he chose differently. Instead of barging into their lives, Ethan started small. He quietly paid off the remaining rent on Emma's apartment through an anonymous donor. He set up a scholarship fund in Lily's name at her school, ensuring she would have opportunities no matter what. He arranged for art supplies to be donated to her class, knowing from the investigator's notes that she loved to draw, but he never signed his name. It wasn't about credit, it was about redemption. Even if Emma never forgave him, even if Lily never knew. Yet fate refused to let him remain in the shadows. One rainy evening, Emma found herself caught in a downpour with Lily after grocery shopping. Their umbrella broke, and they huddled beneath a store awning, shivering. Ethan's car, sleek and black, pulled up beside them. The tinted window rolled down. Get in, Ethan said quietly. Please, just let me give you a ride home. Emma hesitated, glaring at him through the sheets of rain. But Lily's teeth chattered, and practicality won over pride. With a resigned sigh, she guided her daughter into the back seat. The silence inside the car was suffocating. Lily hummed softly to herself, looking out the window, oblivious to the storm brewing between the adults. Ethan stole glances through the rearview mirror, his heart aching. Finally, Emma spoke, her voice cold. Why are you doing this, Ethan? Why can't you just leave us alone? His hands tightened on the wheel. Because I can't, he admitted. I've lived 10 years with regret, Emma. 10 years knowing I threw away the only real love I ever had. I thought money would fill the void, but it didn't. It only made it worse. Emma's eyes softened for a fraction of a second before hardening again. Regret doesn't erase the past. It doesn't erase the nights Lily cried because she wanted a father. It doesn't erase what you called me a mistake. Ethan's voice cracked. You were never a mistake. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I was blind. I thought success mattered more, but I see no, I was just a coward. The car stopped outside Emma's building. She opened the door without replying, guiding Lily out. Before she left, she leaned in, her voice low and steady. You may have money, Ethan, but you'll never have what we have. Love, trust, family. You gave that up. Don't expect me to hand it back because you're lonely now. And then she was gone again, disappearing into the rain with Lily. Ethan sat there for a long time, the storm outside mirroring the one inside him. He realized Emma might never forgive him, and he couldn't blame her. But there was still Lily, his daughter. She deserved the truth someday, and she deserved to know he had tried. So Ethan began showing up at the park again, not in secret this time. Slowly, he started small conversations with Lily. She was curious, chatty, full of questions about everything. To her, Ethan was just a kind stranger who listened to her stories and admired her drawings. One afternoon, she proudly held up a sketch of the skyline. Do you like it? She asked. Ethan's throat tightened. It's beautiful, just like your mom. Emma stood nearby, arms crossed, watching warily, but she didn't stop Lily from talking to him. For the first time, she allowed him to be neareth, only at a distance. Weeks turned into months. Ethan didn't push. He didn't demand. He simply showed up, consistently, quietly proving that he wasn't walking away this time. Lily grew fond of him, calling him Mr. Ethan. she had no idea of their bond, but somehow, she trusted him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily skipped toward him, holding 2 ice cream cones. "I got you one," she said cheerfully. Ethan's eyes stung as he accepted it. "Thank you, sweetheart." Emma watched, her expression unreadable. When Lily ran off to play, she walked over, her voice low. "I don't know what your game is," she said, "but she likes you. Don't you dare break her heart." Ethan met her gaze, his voice steady. "I won't, I promise." For a long moment, they stood in silence. The woman he had abandoned, the daughter he had lost, the life he had thrown away, all right there, within reach yet miles away. Ethan knew he could never undo the past, but he also knew one truth. He had walked away once, and it had destroyed him. He would never walk away again. Even if Emma never forgave him, even if Lily never knew he was her father, he would spend the rest of his life making up for the love he had abandoned. Because some mistakes can't be fixed, they can only be carried with regret, and with the hope that, one day, forgiveness might follow. And as he watched Lily laugh in the golden light of the setting sun, Ethan realized that this being near her, protecting her from the shadows, if nothing else, was the closest thing to redemption he would ever deserve. Ethan's story is a haunting reminder that wealth means nothing when love is lost. You can build empires, collect titles, and surround yourself with luxury, but when the lights go out, regret is the only companion money can't buy away. The millionaire who once thought love was a distraction learned the hardest truth of all, that true wealth is not in bank accounts, but in the hearts we hold close. So, if this story moved you, don't just walk away. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that love, once lost, can never be fully replaced. And if you want to hear more powerful stories of choices, regrets, and second chances, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications, because sometimes, the richest stories aren't about money at all, they're about the moments we almost let slip away.